Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here today. If you will, like, share, comment on the post. Hope your weekend is off to a great start, and appreciate you taking a few minutes here with me this morning to look at the little book of Ruth. Ruth chapter 1. We're going to look at verse 4 today. It's a pretty short verse. Seems like maybe not a lot there, but when you take it in conjunction with everything else that has been going on, you find a pretty compelling story beginning to be revealed to us. And I said verse 4. I mean, should have said verse 3, getting ahead of myself. But verse 3 says, "But Elimelech, the husband of Naomi, died, and she was left with her two sons." So we open this little book, and we see here that life is pretty well falling apart. Nothing seems to be going right for Naomi and her family. First of all, we learned in the first verse that they were living in the day of Judges. And for the most part, those were terrible days. The judges were, again, for the most part, were corrupt, and life was bad. On top of that, the verse tells us as well that there was a famine. Famine even, it says, in the land of Bethlehem, which is, again, an ironic statement when the name Bethlehem literally means the house of bread. But there was no bread because there was a famine. Next thing we see going on here doesn't appear necessarily to be a problem at this moment, but like some things in life, you plant the seed and you wait, and then you see eventually the harvest. That's what's going to happen with Naomi and her family. Then they pack up, and they are from Bethlehem in Judah. And so they are living in the promised land, but when these problems arise, it says they go to the country of Moab and remain there. The name Moab may seem familiar to you because if you read the Old Testament, you will see that on different occasions the Jews have problems with the Moabites. They were, again, a pagan, non-Jewish country who did not worship the same God. So Elimelech and Naomi take their children and they leave the promised land. They have a lack of confidence, a lack of trust, whatever you want to call it, in God and His plan, and so they pack up and they leave. They go into another country, again a foreign country, a country that was not a Jewish country, a country that practiced idolatry, a country that did not live according to the law, according to biblical principles and biblical truths. And so they take their family, they take their children, and they load up and they move to this country. Now they get there, and from there, once they arrive there, now Elimelech dies. Don't know the story, don't know what had happened there in this story, but for whatever reason, they get there, and again, he dies. Don't know if he got sick, don't know if he got run over, what happens, murdered, who knows, but he dies. And so we see then kind of the results now of how things are playing out, and it's going to get worse as we continue in the story, that this decision to fail to trust God. The name Elimelech literally means "my God is king," but obviously in this case, God had not been king, as they didn't trust God to deliver them. They didn't trust God to protect them and save their family. And so they took matters into their own hands and packed up and moved to Moab. And then, lo and behold, they get there, and the next thing you know, Naomi is left as a widow. And I'm sure you know enough about biblical times. It's not easy being a a single mother today, single parent, but even worse, especially for a female living in a foreign country, among people who hated her and her people who hated the Jews. And as long as she's there, she's going to face further trouble. And so Naomi finds herself in a dilemma. And again, I think we can trace it all back again to this fact of not trusting God, of again them leaving the promised land and thinking we would be better off, instead of being in the land that God has promised us, we would be better off to take matters in our own hands and do it our way. We see over and over in Scripture. We could, if there was some way to turn the camera and the mics around and point them at you, probably most of us could tell the horror stories of taking matters into our own hands. Not too long ago, we were looking here at the book of Jonah and how Jonah decided to take matters into his own hands. And when he does, things fall apart. And we're going to see that things continue to fall apart for a while for Naomi until God intervenes. But beware, be advised that taking matters into our own hand, failing to trust God, leads to disaster. You have a good day. We'll see you here tomorrow morning.